Big Sills, National Football Show. Appreciate everybody coming aboard. Thank you, as you always do. And it is Combines Week. It's getting ready for the NFL Draft. This is where teams are going to make their future. This is where teams in free agency coming up on March 15th, this is where you make your championship roster the same way the Eagles made their roster last year. This is what you're going to put together to go on a championship run. It happens in free agency, starts this week with the NFL Draft. I want to throw this at you right away. Couple things off the top here. I was just telling Tone this. Appreciate all of you guys coming aboard. Thank you so much. So Bryce Young, about an hour and a half ago, was measured for his height at 5'10 and a half. And I just had a conversation with Tone, and I go, and he's like, Sills, does that matter? Does that matter? It's a different NFL. God, he's such a great ball player. He's such a good player. But it's 5'10 and a half. Is that something that would turn you away from drafting him number one overall? The Bears are getting a lot of conversation from teams wanting to get up to number one. If it's going to be C.J. Stroud by the way, I have the top 32 best players that are going into the Combines this week, and I've rated them. And I'm going to get to that probably at the bottom of the hour here. A couple topics to throw off at you. Man, I mean, 5'10 and a half. Quarterbacks don't get hit. It's a new wave quarterback, and he's so good in big games. I'm with Tone. His athletic ability and his play-making ability, the way he throws the ball, he's a great quarterback. But will his size hold him back? Would you take a first-round draft choice at him? I probably would. Number one overall? I don't know. That's an awful tiny dude. Yeah, and hey, Pooh, he's like 190 pounds. So he's 5'10 and a half, 190 pounds. Man, that's tiny. That's tinier than Drew Brees. And I'm like, man, I saw Brees at Purdue in his last college football game. It was against Georgia. I was working sidelines at the Outback Bowl. And I remember going home and telling my wife, I go, man, this guy Brees can play. But I just thought he was too small. And he goes on to, obviously, when he walks out of the game, he's the all-time leading yardage guy. So he completely changed the narrative on shorter quarterbacks. But, man, he was a tiny dude at 6 feet. He's an elite. I agree with you, Bird. I mean, Bryce has played in elite ball games, and he's starred in those elite ball games. Tone's like, this guy's built like this guy's built like a corner, or like a slot receiver. Not built like a quarterback, especially the ones you want in today's NFL. I don't know. I just 5'10 and a half. We'll talk more about that. By the way, he's highly rated going into the Combines. All right. Let me start this out before we get to the topics here. And again, we're going to go over the top. You know what's interesting? I got to tell you this. The top 32 college players, not where they'll go. These are the top 32 college players that are going to the Combines pre-draft and pre-combine. In what they're rating, I got the top 32. You know what's funny? The Eagle picks are right around the guys' needs that they need. I'll explain when we get there. You may be in a position not to have to overdraft, which a lot of teams fall into. Like, I mean, here. I just said this to Tone as well. If Caleb Williams was in the draft, would he go number one overall? Probably. So when you look at the quarterback class, you're like, is the better class next year? Or is it this year? The best prospect is in next year's draft. So we'll get to that here in a minute. I appreciate everybody coming aboard. Neil, he's just a little bit bigger than Doug. I played against Doug both collegiately and professionally. Doug was a really good player. You know, one of the things my wife noticed about him when we were at a Super Bowl, my wife was producing for me, and she said, I've never met a man with bigger hands in my life than Doug Flutie. And Doug was a great athlete. He really was. My grandfather had enormous hands. I got big hands. She said, Dan, I've never seen a guy with bigger hands in my life than Doug Flutie. So we'll get to that here in a minute. I want to ask you something about Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Do you think what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz and Carson Wentz's failure in Philadelphia will help or hurt Jalen Hurts in the contract negotiations? I thought about this last night. Do you think it will help or hurt Jalen Hurts? Man, everything that they wanted Carson Wentz to be, they saw in Jalen Hurts. Funny, all the physical attributes that you want in a quarterback are in Carson Wentz. If you could just put those two guys together, I think that's exactly what the Eagles wanted to look like. The physical stature and abilities of Wentz with the leadership capabilities, the athleticism of Jalen Hurts. Okay? I think they wanted both of these men. Tone goes, we got to go back to why Wentz failed in the first place. The mentals and the lack of attention to detail is why he failed. Well, that's also a failure on the organization, Tone, for not identifying that quick enough. Instead, they rushed to judgment and gave him a $38 million per year deal. So there's failure all around. And, I mean, Carson Wentz sure failed. So did the Eagles, massively. Set the franchise back to a team that would end up winning only 4 games. And then having to build a one-year team, which they did a year ago. You understand that the position that the Eagles are in still stems from the collateral damage of the Carson Wentz deal. You understand that, right? The Eagles are in a position right now. They're in a position right now of looking at all the players that they can't bring back because of the collateral damage of Wentz's decision and them going out and giving him a contract extension. This all goes back again, but I want to bring it to Jalen. And again, I'm not relitigating the Carson Wentz thing. I don't give a shit about that anymore. I don't care. No one cares. Stop. Mental, soft, sure. Will it help or hurt Jalen's opportunity in negotiations on what happened through that whole saga? Will it help or hurt? Mr. International says help. How so will it help? How will it help? It will hurt more than it will help. Funny. I look at it like this. Do you feel, if I'm the Eagles and I'm here, because it kind of is exactly what people are talking about with Bryce Young here a little bit. Look how small he is. He's not really the prototype. Jalen's not the prototype. And you know what? Quite frankly, Tone's right. That narrative may be changing. I'm going to get to that here in a second. That narrative may be changing. Sills, this is what you're getting more out of college. You're getting these RPO guys. This is the position you're now getting out of college. Edge rusher, wide receiver, cornerback, and quarterback. The rest of them, Those are the money positions. When I go over the top 32 guys, you're going to see that. Corners, edge rusher, O-line, wideouts, quarterbacks. The rest, okay? I think this is going to help Jalen Hurts, the failure of Carson Wentz. Let me tell you why. Everything that we saw that we did wrong is going right now. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is paying for the Carson Wentz mistake. He's paying off Howie's debt. I'll give you an example. The RG3 complete debacle in Washington. You know, in the end, it didn't pan out. 3 first-rounders. He was the rookie of the year in the NFL. But what was Mike Shanahan smart to do? In the 4th or 5th round, to get Kirk Cousins. Cousins paid off the bad move. Jalen Hurts is paying off the bad mistake and decision by the owner and the GM on Carson Wentz for where he is now. The Eagles have 2 first-round picks. And guess what? Now they have the guy that they're comfortable in. He's also paid off the despicable mistake of Carson Wentz into a contract of his own. And this is why the Eagles are more willing than ever before to open up the checkbook for Jalen Hurts, because they see all the massive mistakes that they made during the Wentz move. That's coming into a successful light here with Jalen Hurts. Am I wrong? Howie's paying off for his bad move here. And the faith he had in the second pick, it's paid off the Wentz deal. Do you agree? Jalen Hurts is going to benefit from Carson Wentz's failure with more money, more security, more belief by an ownership and general manager's office that are willing to go out and get A.J. Brown. This move saved Howie Roseman and the owner's ass on the mistake of Carson Wentz. That's how I look at it. Carson Wentz, erased. The second pick, you didn't have to waste the first-round pick. He played for $1.4 million last year. He helped you rebuild your team and get assets with 2 first-rounders. You think Jalen Hurts had anything to do with Howie Roseman's contract extension? What if Howie had failed twice, the second rounder and the first rounder? You think Howie Roseman would be the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles? No way. Not a chance. He would have failed twice and been okay to keep his gig? If he went out even and got, get this, the Russell Wilson move would have failed. Jalen Hurts paid for the Eagles' mistake of Carson Wentz. That's why he's in line for all this money. Am I right? Think of the things he did. Tone covered the first round mistake, covered the contract, started winning, played at a cheap rate for 2 years, validated the general manager's second round selection. Howie Roseman last year got 2 first round picks for what? A quarterback in the April draft of this year. He wasn't looking for an edge rusher. He got it in Reddick. He wasn't looking for a corner or safety. He got it in CJ and Bradbury. He was planning on paying for all those guys. But on the way to the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts pans out and plays out. I think that's exciting. I'm not ripping anybody here. You're in a position, and if you're in Philadelphia right now, where you're looking at nothing but this, a shitty conference, very few quarterbacks to have to hurdle. You may drop down in free agency a little bit, but you're still going to have a dynamic offense, and you may have a defense good enough to win. And get back to the NFC title game. I think you are. Barring any kind of massive screw-ups here, especially on the offensive side, I think you're going to be right there. I got a couple teams that I think in the NFC that can take a shot at you, but you're off. What's this? Going into next year, let's do this on February 27th. February 27th. Help me out here. Is there a better offense in the NFC than the Eagles? And don't give me Minnesota. Every time I see Minnesota play the Eagles, they fold like an armchair. Please don't give me Minnesota. Name me a better offense in the NFC than the Eagles going into the combines. Can you give me one? The Lions? Eagles have a better wide receiving core. They got a pretty good running game. Eagles have a better quarterback and a better O-line. Tight ends are pretty compatible. I still favor Philly there over the Lions, but that's a pretty good one. 49ers have a ton of tools, but they don't have the quarterback situated yet. Till that gets rectified. Here, I got the list. I might as well do it now. Here, I got the list of teams. Packers, okay, if Aaron Rodgers stays. If Aaron Rodgers stays and they sign and re-sign Alan Lazard, Jones is staying in the backfield. Bakhtiari's coming back, maybe healthier, maybe the O-line. Okay, Packers could be there. The Cowboys, what are you doing with Zeke and Tony Pollard? They need to address the tight end. The quarterback has to play better. Still not better than Philly, though. Seahawks, DK Metcalf, okay. Walker kid from Michigan State running the ball. O-line's getting better. Geno, was that a one-year deal? I don't know. Okay, Seattle, I still got the Eagles. Right? I mean, then maybe the Rams bounce back. I mean, they got a great coach. They need to work on the O-line. They got a great wideout in Cooper Kupp. Quarterback's good. They need a running back. They need some work in the O-line. I don't know. I still got the Eagles there. Say this to you. Here are the teams in the NFC that will potentially give the Eagles a push for the conference mantle. 49ers, probably. Packers, Vikings, Cowboys, Seahawks, Rams. That's not a gauntlet to get through again. That's not the gauntlet of the quarterbacks that you're going to have to sit there and go, Jalen is going to be in a game versus a guy who's superior to him and throwing the ball. 49ers don't have that. Packers do. The Vikings don't. For whatever reason, Dak is successful against Philly. He is. You could say he's not all you want, but he beats you all the time. Seahawks, Geno, we'll find out. We're seeing them this year. And Stafford and the Rams, 2 years ago, they won a Super Bowl. I don't know, but I still think the Eagles are better, even making steps backwards on defense. Okay? I mean, Dak Prescott beats the Eagles for whatever reason. He does. Okay? I got a new list of the Eagle free agents from Mike Florio's at the Combines. He sent this over to me. Do you know on his list, he has 10 Philadelphia Eagles that are going to be in the top, what is it? The top 100, they have 10. The Eagles have 10 free agents, according to Mike Florio, in the top 100. Okay? CJ's number 9, Gardner Johnson. Man, he's going to make a bunch of money. 14-4 tops. Man, Howie paying for a safety at $14 million, almost $15 million. Bradbury, he's ranked 12th. He's going to make 16. That's $30 million. These two guys are not even going to remotely think about coming back unless one of them's tagged. If the only way Bradbury and CJ Gardner-Johnson come back is if they're tagged. And you can only tag one of them. TJ Edwards, according to Florio's, number 17. He's going to make $7 million. Minnesota would clearly pay that. You're not signing him back. Those 3 dudes are gone. He's got Fletcher Cox, I think, a little high at 28. So the 2 defensive tackles in Philadelphia. Javon Hargrave is number 5. He's going to make $18 million. He's the 5th rated free agent, according to Florio, heading into the combines. Hargrave's going to make $18 million. Wow. Fletcher is 28th. He's going to make $10 million. He's going to make $8 million. He ain't going to be in Philly. Number 34. Kaiser White. I think that's a little high. Kaiser White, number 34. I think that's high. But according to Mike, he's going to make 6. Not signing him back. So far, you ain't getting one of these guys back. According to Florio. Sayamalo's number 50. Shit, he's going to have 30 teams wanting to negotiate with him. Miles Sanders is number 73. Marcus Epps is number 92. He's going to make some money. I'm thinking he comes back. Man, that's a lot. That's a lot of free agents. It's a lot of free agents. You're going to have to do a lot of work, in my opinion, in the upcoming draft. And I think you're going to have to use the draft to keep yourself competitive. Because you're not, if you're going to pay Jalen Hurts, and we've been talking about this, if you're going to pay Jalen Hurts the $46 to $48 to $50 million that you want to pay him, man, you got to go young like Kansas City went young in the draft, or you got to get a lot of luck again like you did a year ago in your free agent class. You got a long way to go here. This is a lot of work here. I am going to do the top 32 players heading into the combines, which start tomorrow. Anton, Sean DeSassi, is at the NovaCare Center today. Thoughts? I mentioned his name. I mentioned his name last week early in the process. He's one of the greatest minds in the game. I would compare Sean, in my opinion, to a very young Bill Belichick. If you're able to get, I think his name is Desai, in how you say it. If you're able to land him, he's in Seattle right now, assistant head coach with Pete. I mentioned him a couple weeks ago and said that look out for him. If it's me, I think this guy is a young version of Bill Belichick. His reputation is immense. Won't be cheap either. He's a very young, detailed guy, has a lot of qualities that Bill has. Okay? Sharp. He's going to be a coordinator that's going to take the pieces that, you know why it's smart to look at him? I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get out of the NovaCare Center tonight, becomes the new defensive coordinator later at the end of this program. so that they can go to the combines with him tomorrow. And I pray they do, because this is what he's going to do. He's going to go shopping at the grocery store with Howie tomorrow. And if he's able to do that, he'll be able to help out a lot and understand what exactly is needed for the style of defense and how he wants to run, because I think this is going to come down. He's one of those guys that could do 43, 34, 50 front. He can go wide 9. He can do so many things. There is a lot of people that love his qualities. He's got detailed stuff. I mean, and like I said, he's not a plug-and-play defensive coordinator. He's going to look at the talent around him and formulate, like Jim Johnson used to do, to put a defensive system together. He is really a great option. I hope they land on him, and I think probably why one of the reasons that you're seeing people bow out is because I think they're going to land on him. 49er folks, appreciate you coming aboard. One of my favorite areas, first area I started in broadcasting actually, was in San Francisco on KMBR 68, then the ticket. Had a great time. Big Sills, we are not getting into free agency. Maniac, repost that again for me, will you please? He doesn't suck. That's not true. That's not true. By the way, something else I did. I put down the top 32 free agents where I think teams are going to hire and their most important needs. We'll do that at the top of the 4 o'clock hour Eastern time. We'll take a look at where I think some of the top flight defensive players and offensive players go in free agency, which starts on March 15th. Here's the top 32 players that I got from a NFL head coach in their organization that deals with Bledsoe. Now, I don't know if you guys know what Bledsoe is. That's a scouting service that looks at every single prospect that goes to the combines and that is invited to the combines, plus looks at kids all over the country. HBCU schools, smaller schools, big schools. They've got a team of people of about 250 scouts that will put a list together of the top kids, give them to each organization, and then those personnel departments go from there with it, add or subtract, depending on what a need that, say, the Eagles or the Steelers or the Patriots or the Buccaneers have. Then they put their own general list together. Then they send their scouts out. These are the 32 guys. Marshall says, will Howie allow him to do his job, though, is my question. Howie's going to allow anybody. Remember something, Marshall. Because Howie Roseman has a lot of say in the hiring of the assistant coaches, always know this. Howie's going to let that assistant coach, because he has a say in the hiring, to go out and coach his players. Howie can't coach the guys. But he wants to hire a guy that will coach his guys. That makes sense? That's why he will allow him. Hey, I need you to coach these guys. These are the guys I drafted. Every personnel guy wants those guys to pan out. That's their job. You give me a talent. The guy sucks. Is that on the coach? That's not on the coach. Or it could be. And with a guy like Howie that has that kind of collateral inside the organization, he's going to blame the assistant coaches or head coach. That's why Doug Peterson's fired. Okay? Here's the top 32 kids in the pre-combine list of players going into the combines to either work out, have their meetings, what have you. The number 1 rated player is Will Anderson, 6'4", 243, Bama edge. Everything that the scouts have seen on tape, plus the competition that he plays against, sets him apart. He is one of the best edge rushers to come out of college in a long time. He's better than Micah Parsons. He's a better prospect than Micah Parsons. Here's why. He's a better cover guy. He's got better range. He's got the ability to engage and get out of that engagement. You see him taking on tight ends. He does a great job at tight ends. And Will Anderson, He has the 20-foot rule. All you need to see is 20 feet of this guy's game film, and you know he's a player. And he is the best defensive player that Nick Saban has ever coached. From Toledo to Michigan State to LSU to the Dolphins and Alabama. He's the best player he's ever coached. Number 2, Jalen Carter, 6'3", 300 pounds, Georgia, D-line, play him anywhere. Force, feet, hands, disengages well, doesn't play high. You want to hear this? He's by far a better player than Jordan Davis. It's not close. It's not close. He's more active. He's more productive. I wouldn't know about leadership because I hadn't spoken to him. Yeah, Anton, I said that he was going to get cut on Friday. Carson Wentz cut. That doesn't shock me. Doesn't shock me. So get this, the 2 best players. This tells you right now, the 2 best players in the upcoming April draft or heading into the combines are defensive players. Shows you what the need is. Now, I want you to keep an eye on the Eagles' 10th pick and their 30th pick, okay? On the players that we're kind of looking at anyway. Number 3, Bryce Young. Boy, says 6 feet, 194. That's a stretch in itself. He was measured today at 5'10 and a half. 5'10 and a half. 184 pounds. Man, that's tiny. But he is a ball player. He's got such a great resume with all the big games that he's played in. And Danko, 6 feet in cleats. Probably. Look, I think he's really good. Yeah, I think he's a great football player. I really do. I think Bryce Young is a great ball player, but 5'10 and a half, 185 is a little dude. How about this? Would I say that he's a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes? Boy, he sure has the look of it. He sure has the look of it. Would you draft a guy at quarterback at 5'10 and a half, 185, 190 pounds? Man, that's tiny. Man. These are the top 32 NFL players, not where they'll go, heading into the combines. Peter Skoronski, 6'4", 315, Northwestern, the best OT in the draft. Watched him play. Again, Big Ten dudes. Aiden Hutchinson was good. Ajabo was good. The kid from Iowa was good. Edge rushers in the Big Ten, probably good. So that's a good evaluation. He goes against some pretty good talent. Okay, Big Ten guys. Joe Thomas was in that conference. So, yeah, Orlando Pace. So, I think that's a good evaluation. When you watch him play, he's great. Number 5. You guys are going to like this. You know who the 5th highest rated player going into the combines is? It's Bijan Robinson. 6 feet, 222, Texas Longhorns running back. Somebody's going to get a steal. If you take that guy later in the draft, that's why Barrett was saying this. I would take him at 30. Can you imagine this? Someone's going to get a great player. This is what we talk about draft value. He's the 5th rated player heading into the draft. But because the position is not a position of need with a lot of people, he's going to fall in the draft far. This right here, my friends, is the Derrick Henry effect. Plus, he hasn't played on a lot of great teams in Austin. This guy here, think about it. He's going to fall to somebody, and they're going to get a great football player. What if he lands in Kansas City and the Chiefs draft him? Bijan Robinson playing running back behind Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract. Can you imagine that? They get him at 31, or even say they trade up, there he sits, and you're going to get that kid on a rookie contract sitting behind Patrick Mahomes. That's what we call a steal, and that's how you continue to build your football. That's why teams like the 49ers back in the Montana days, people kept going, how do they keep getting better, man? Because they were picking at the bottom of the draft, not overdrafting. Players were falling to them. You know, there's a luxury when you're down at the bottom. People go, that's shitty, you got the 30th pick. No, it's not. You know why? Because you get players that are either been dropping in the draft, have been valuated higher, and you get steal. Look at Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was like the 26th player taken because he fell. And he fell, guess where? To Baltimore. If this kid, B.J. Robinson, falls down to 30, should the Eagles take him? Probably. He's the 5th rated player heading into the combines. I mean, you might even get him in the 2nd round. That's a steal. That's what you're looking for. Someone exactly like that. Number 6, C.J. Stroud, 6'3", 218, Ohio State. I'm just not sold on him, but I get it. I watch him play. He's very athletic. I'll tell you one thing that he does have better than Haskins, Dwayne Haskins, and some of the quarterbacks that have come out of there, Cardale Jones and dudes like that. He's got better feet. Do I think he's got better feet than Justin Fields? No, but he's got a better arm for sure. He's probably one of the better talents at that position Ohio State has ever had. At least he's going to have a fair opportunity. Now it's going to come down to processing information if he can do it or not. Because that's what the quarterback position really is. It's about processing and your feet. The rest of it can be taught. Ask Jalen, ask Joe Montana, and ask Tom Brady. The processing of the information. This is why Testaverde failed. That's why Vinny was a floater. He'd float back. He couldn't process the information, throw a shitload of picks. That's what happens with young quarterbacks. Walsh told me it's all in the feet. Now look where we are here. Look where we are. 7. Christian Gonzalez, 6'2", 201, Oregon cornerback. You're right around the Howie Roseman 10th pick. You're right around the Howie Roseman 10th pick. And that kid Gonzalez is at 7. You're right there. So the chances of you overdrafting are looking pretty good when we get down to the 10th pick. Now, again, this is not where these players are going. These are the 32 highest rated players in order heading into tomorrow's combines. I found out some more information on Christian Gonzalez. He was a Colorado transfer. Then he went into Oregon. And Mario says the kid's a great player. Number 8, Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 275, edge rusher, Texas Tech. Edge and corner. 2 areas we think that the Eagles, now get this, Bijah Robinson is there as well. I don't say you get him at 10, but do you trade down and keep trading down? Because once he's out of 5, he's a steal. Do you keep targeting him? A corner and an edge. 3 things you need. Jalen's going to need a running back. You want an edge and you want a corner. The corners is right around 10. Keep trading down. I might spot this kid from Texas. Number 9, Paris Johnson, 6'6", 310 Ohio State offensive tackle. Probably not a need that the Eagles are going to go for. They can address that in the second and third round. Follow me here. Now we're at 10. Look at the players at 10 you get to choose from. Miles Murphy, 6'5", 275 Clemson, edge. Good player. Good player. Robinson, running back. The pick's too high for him. If I'm going to land him, I want it later. Do I trade out and down? Because why? Guess who's the 11th rated athlete going into tomorrow's combines? Devon Witherspoon. 6 feet, 180 Illinois cornerback. There's your guy. He's at 11. Trade back. Get another pick. Or the 12th highest rated player, Joey Porter Jr., 6'2", 194, Penn State. Do you trade down to 12? Robinson's still on the board. Got an edge. Porter's there. I think Marvin Harrison's kid's in next year's draft. Porter's 12. You're at 10. Here's what I'm trying to show you. You have a deal anywhere at that 10th pick. Have you noticed? I haven't mentioned but 2 quarterbacks. That's crazy. I haven't mentioned but 2 quarterbacks yet. Howie's sitting in the catbird seat again. Number 13, Will Levis, Kentucky, 6'3", 232. Penn State transferred to Kentucky, played against some pretty good kids. They're looking at this kid, and they see like a Josh Allen kind of guy. He's big, pretty fast. I thought he was really good. Played with lesser talent at Kentucky. Still won ball games. 14, Brian Branch. Imagine if you traded down here if you're Howie. And you got a safety at 14, and you traded the 10th pick away for another 1 and a 2 because someone needed a quarterback. Howie's going to have a ton of people on hold draft night. He's going to have a shitload of people at 10. It's right in the middle of the draft almost. It's clearly you're clearly with the 10 best players. That kid Branch can play. Rookie contract, safety, you lose Sage. Or how about this? How about if you trade down to 14, get Brian Branch, who's the 14th rated highest player going into the draft. You move CJ to cornerback and you put this guy at safety at a rookie deal. How would you feel about that? And you got Epps back there. Epps, Branch, CJ, Slay. What do you make of that secondary? What do you make of that secondary? Branch at safety, slide CJ over the corner, Slay at the other corner, CB1. Tony goes, Slay's too expensive. Yeah, so would the cap hit, $26 million. Howie. Hey. Now, again, what I'm doing here is I'm not telling you where these guys are going. I'm telling you who the 32 highest rated players in order are. Number 15, Broderick Jones, 6'4", Georgia offensive tackle. Probably not an area there that Philly's looking at. Look at these players that you're going to be able to trade down for. Brian Breesy, 6'5", 305, Clemson. Interior lineman. Would the Eagles think of trading down and playing Jordan Davis and the Clemson DT, and you move off of Hardgrave and Fletcher, and you have those two guys with Milton Williams backing them up, all of them on rookie deals, so you can follow me, so you can pay for your linebackers and secondary either through the draft or through free agency. 14-4 if Fletcher's gone, and $13 million of Hardgrave's gone. I think you let Hardgrave walk. I'm not paying $17-18 million for a defensive tackle who's 30. I'm not doing that. If I'm going to pay six, hey, I think this is the most important question. Let me ask you the most important question. Would you rather pay $16 million for a defensive tackle or a corner? Who would you rather? Would you rather spend it on a DT or a corner? Why? Because corner is one of the money positions. Why would I spend any money? I'll get this. I'll spend the draft asset, first rounder, on defensive tackles, but I'm not going to spend my cap on them. Does that make sense? I think fundamentally you got to think like that. Am I going to spend my draft capital on what position? D tackle, linebackers, safeties, right? Running backs. That's where I'm going to spend my draft capital. Maybe old line, because we've got the best coach on the planet. How many guys outside of Jason Peters has come into Philadelphia that they made a trade for? How many people have they ever had come into Philly where they were old linemen that they found somewhere else, brought them in, and that's not really their MO. Their MO was developing from within. That's not their MO. Their MO is drafting guys like Kelsey in latter rounds. Lane Johnson at Oklahoma, I didn't even realize he played there. Here's number 17. Wait till I tell you what's going on with Anthony Richardson. 6'4", 232, 17, quarterback, University of Florida. Do you know there are 7 teams going into this week's combines? And you know what they're saying? He may be the number 1 overall pick. He is skyrocketing up the draft board and up how people are viewing him. You know why? Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, maybe even Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. Because you know what Tone said to me before we even went on the air? Tone goes, Sills, maybe this is just a new wave of what the NFL is looking for. Anthony Richardson just might actually be exactly what the NFL is going to look like in 5 years from now. Big, physical, maybe not the most accurate, big arm though. Can run. It can take punishment. He's an RPO guy. He's a dual threat dude. Maybe that's what you're looking at. You know what's funny? Colin Kaepernick was this guy. You know, Colin Kaepernick's biggest – hey, Tone, think of this. Colin Kaepernick's biggest influence and impact on the NFL may be his style of play instead of his activism. Because Colin Kaepernick was this dude. Kaepernick led a team to the Super Bowl. And his last year stats didn't suck. That team sucked. Look it up. He was on pace for a pretty good year. Okay? Colin Kaepernick, when he took that Niner team to the Super Bowl and Jim Harbaugh saw his physical skills, that guy right there is exactly what Anthony Richardson is today. Am I wrong? Anthony Richardson is a modern-day Cam Newton. And this is what the NFL may look like in 5 years. You guys are right. You guys are right. I mean, where would Kaepernick go in today's NFL draft? 1 overall? If Kaepernick was available coming out of Nevada right now, he'd be the number 1 pick. He'd be the well, I'll tell you what, analytics will tell you that he should be at least in the conversation 1, 2, and 3. Am I wrong? That's what Anthony Richardson looks like to me. He looks like he looks exactly like Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick put together a great career. People hate on him because of his politics, so what they do is they chip away at it. Here, let me show you something here with Kaepernick. And so, again, this goes into Anthony Richardson, and I would say this even too. I think Jalen Hurts has helped guys like Anthony Richardson more than what people want to think. The dual threat guy got a team to the Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick stats. I want to show you something here, and why people always put Kaepernick's numbers in San Francisco, and they don't do him justice. Now, again, you're never going to get a high percentage when it comes to dual threat guys. Even Lamar Jackson doesn't have one. 21 touchdowns, 8 picks. 19 touchdowns, 10 picks. 31.97, 33.69. Even in the last year, when everyone said he sucked, in 11 games, Kaepernick had thrown for 22.41. He was going to throw for 3,400 yards again. He had 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions in 11 games. He was on pace to do what Jalen did. And if you put his running numbers together that year, he had 468 rushing yards in 11 games. He was on pace for 7. He would have had a Jalen Hurts year. Colin Kaepernick would have had a Jalen Hurts year. Number 18, Quentin Johnston, 6'4", 215 TCU wide receiver. Everybody in Philadelphia, here's the school TCU. They go, no thank you, I'm bowing out. Number 19, Jordan Addison, the transfer from Pitt into USC, 6 feet, 175. Wide receivers, the 19th player ranked going into the combines. Bob goes, Sills, can you get Dustin Regan on this week? I don't know this week, Bob. They're pretty busy at the combines. I'm getting Bruce Arians tomorrow. By the way, our friend Gary Cobb at 4:30 Eastern will be with us in hour number 2. So I'm getting Bruce from the combines tomorrow, executive with the Buccaneers. I think we're going to get him to blame Brady for the failures of the Bucs last year. So I think we're getting him on. Hey, Tone, I'll send you the information for him, but I think we're getting him on Bruce Arians tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern. We'll have Bruce Arians, the assistant executive of the Buccaneers, live from Indianapolis in the combines. Number 20 is Michael Mayer, 6'4", 265, Notre Dame tight end. There's quite a few tight ends on this list. Number 21, Jackson Smith Njigba, Ohio State wide receiver, 6'1", 200. They put out great wideouts from that program. The Real goes, Kaepernick's the best quarterback the Niners have had in 20 years. Yeah. 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 With Jim Harbaugh, yeah. And decent coaching, yeah. The 49ers drafted Colin Kaepernick and Trey Lance. Of course he's the best. Trey Lance is Colin Kaepernick. Number 22, Lucas Van Ness. He's down to 22. I think he's going to go in the top 15 because of need. Edge rusher, Iowa, 6'5", 275. Seals, you can't hate dual threat. You dual threat the dinner. Spaghetti and meatballs, that is dual threat. Number 23, Jamar Gibbs, 5'11", 200, Bama, running back. No, thank you. But get this. Someone's going to get a steal with this kid. Look at this one here, guys. This kid Gibbs is 5'11", 200 pounds. He's a 23rd ranked running back going into the draft. He may not go in the first 2 rounds. Someone's going to get a massive steal with this guy. He's a 23rd rated dude going in. Remember that kid? That kid's going to be a star in the NFL. Remember I said that. He's going to be a star. Kelee Ringo, number 24, 6'2", 210, Georgia cornerback. Okay, now you're kind of starting getting closer to 30 again with the Eagles. But look at all those players the Eagles are going to have an opportunity to have. Van Ness, Breezy, Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver from Tennessee that destroyed Alabama. Number 26, Nolan Smith, the edge rusher, 6'3", 235. That kid can play. Cam Smith, 6', 188, South Carolina cornerback. Now you're starting to get around that 30 mark again. Number 29, Darnell Washington, 6'7", 270, Georgia, tight end. That kid, can you imagine lining him up in a 2 tight end set? We got it on the other side. And AJ and, hey, Tone, how about this? Darnell Washington, 6'7", 270, Georgia tight end. This guy's a beast. He's like Gronk. He's over here on this side. And in that old line, you got 6'7", 6'6", 6'5", 6'3", 6'6", 6'9", 6'7". I mean, dude, it's like the Great Wall of China. I mean, can you imagine that going across? And then you have AJ and Devonta and Jalen Hurts behind that. Man. Dude, you run a double tight end set of teams with Jalen running the ball and throwing the ball back there. Man, I don't know how you do that. Oh, man. Dalton Kincaid, 6'4", 240, Utah, tight end. Bunch of tight ends on this list. He's a pretty good player, number 30. Kean White, 6'5", 280, Georgia Tech, edge rusher at 31. And Emmanuel Forbes, 6 feet, 180, Mississippi State, cornerback. Man, are they going to be able to do a lot of stuff. So let me put it out there to you, because the quarterback situation looks like it's resolved. Don't you trade down? You're going to get your guy. In the middle of the draft, Christian Gonzalez is ranked 7th. Witherspoon is ranked 11th. Porter is ranked 12th. Ringo is ranked 24th. Shit, you could trade down more to get your corner. Or you can trade down, continue to trade down. Brian Branch is not going to go at 14. I think they're in really great hands. I'm talking Eagles. I think they're in really great hands. I think they're in super hands here, man. The key with the draft is the money and hoping they play. and hoping they can play. Cornerback, you were right. I think it was Dank that said it. The cornerback position is pretty deep here. It is. It's pretty deep. All right. What I'm going to do at the top of the hour, I have written down the top 32 free agents and where I think they'll go. Wait till you see where I put and who I put with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to do that. Your favorite team. San Francisco is also on this list. The Bills, the Steelers, all 32 teams that have first-round picks. I don't believe I have the Dolphins on here. Oh, I did. This is free agency. This is our own, basically drafting the free agents for all 32 teams. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Okay, we're going to do that next. Please hit the like button. Gary Cobb will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Keep it here.